By popular demand, here it is, guys, the Emax Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle ready to fly kit. Everything you need here in this box to get started. If you are the ultimate beginner to someone advanced, this is a great kit, and everybody was asking for it. Something that they could just bind up and have a transmitter and some goggles, charger, batteries, everything you need is in this box for under the $200 price point. Emax wants to make this competitive for all the other RTF kits out there. You guys have seen the beta FPV kit, but this one is different than the most recent RTFs out there because, well, this one will go 0 to hero, meaning that you could start out as the ultimate beginner with this quad. It has a special rate profile plugged into the PIDs on here for you, and complicated for the beginner to PID tune. Don't have to worry about that. Emax has done it for you, and the rates on this one in the profile number 1 are set to beginner mode. So what does that mean? Well, it has everything softened down for you, and this transmitter flies way different with that PID profile for the beginner. If you are just starting in FPV, this slows down all the flip and roll rates for you and smooths everything out. So it's kind of like the ultimate acro trainer. It's not super fast on the flips, and it's going to flip you into the ground like you've had other problems with faster, more nimble. If they're under 100 millimeter or around that size, this one is, I believe it's around 130 millimeter with 2.5-inch Avon props and 1103 7000 kV motors with an F4 flight controller on here. This can be an extreme beast on 2S. If you want to run 2S on here or 1S, I believe it'll run 1S as well. But today we're going to run it 2S during this testing, and we have one of my favorite cameras on here is the Runcam Nano 2. This is my camera of choice. When you guys watched this channel almost 2 years ago now, when the original Freestyle came out, I did an upgrade video and we upgraded everything on here to a 400 milliwatt VTX. Now they have a 200 milliwatt VTX on here. They have the camera that I originally chose for my upgrade video, and they have brought this one full circle, and they've done it again because here we are again with the RTF version. Now, what's also cool about this is not only is it beginner to expert friendly, you have a ton of room to grow. So start out flying in stability mode, fly it straight ahead, work on learning your orientations for your stick, throttle control, all of that. Throttle management is very important. And then flip into horizon mode and acro mode. This is already set up. There is no beta flight or computer setup needed on this quad. All you have to do is charge up your batteries with the 6-in-1 charger that came along with it. This will charge up to 6 of those 1S 450 milliamp batteries that you're going to put right on top of this quad. It makes the perfect CG when you put 2 of those batteries up on the very top. No Velcro needed, just a strap to hold those 2 in place. And the PH 2.0 connectors are on the back right there. And you have an XM Plus style receiver. I believe this one will bind up to a Tyrannus radio. So later on, when you graduate from the beginner controller that comes along with it, you can move up to something else. You can also solder on a DSMX 2 or X style receiver to this flight controller. It also supports 3.3 volt, which is great for Spectrum radio guys. Now, this is great because we do have the same style frame on here. Nothing has changed. We have awesome graphics. These are the new updated graphics on the Freestyle 2 versus the Freestyle 1. Had a little different look. This one's a little more skateboarder looking. I kind of like this frame because so far I haven't busted one of these frames and I haven't broke them. It's also big enough to be able to carry the Insta360 Go on there. So I'll put a link down to one of these. Then you can have 1080p video, stabilized 1080p video while you're doing your freestyle flights and while you're learning acro. And speaking of acro, it's like the ultimate acro trainer because this has an Emax tuned rate profile number 1 is set for beginners. So it softens everything out. The rolls are pretty slow, so you want to have some height when you're doing those rolls with this beginner rate mode. Now when you switch rate modes, you can go to a more expert mode. I also have PIDs available. I'll try to put those in the link down below for you. The original PIDs, you guys can plug those into your freestyle and make it more of an expert freestyle ripper. This has everything in the box that you would need for, I believe, under the $200 price point. We're getting an awesome case along with this. We're getting a new style transmitter that also has an 18650 battery in it that you can recharge from the micro USB cable that's included. You get the 6-in-1 charger as well. That's a USB port, and you get an extra set of those Avon Emax 2.5-inch props in there. And I've talked about these props before. They're kind of like skateboard wheels. They're a super ultra durable. So these are like the perfect props for the ultimate beginner or somebody like me who's really thrashing stuff around. Also inside the box, you get a 1S 1800 milliamp LiPo battery pack. It says LiPo battery pack on it, but inside there is actually a 18650 battery. It has a USB port on the side for charging this up. Once it charges up, it'll show a green light on the side. It's got a little LED, and this is the battery that goes inside it. Nice, because you can get these off Amazon for a couple dollars. You don't have to buy a whole new battery that's encased. This is just a case with a barrel connector on the side for plugging into your goggles. And speaking of the goggles, guys, we have the same style that came along with the Tinyhawk. I was hoping that they might upgrade these to a DVR version, but I was able to adjust the screen in and out to be able to see everything in focus. And normally I don't fly with these type of goggles because I need a little bit better diopter or IPD adjustment. So that's just my eyes. It's probably better for people that have really good eyesight to younger folks. So you can upgrade these goggles later, and Sky Zone is my brand of choice. You guys know about that. But let's go ahead now outside. Let's do a little bit of ripping with the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle. This is a beast, or mild to wild. I mean, you can go all the way to expert acro style freestyle with this quad. It is absolute ripper for ready to fly bundle. Super awesome for the new guys. Just bind it up and go fly. No computer needed. Here we go. Let's do some flying. After that, we'll come back in and I'll give you my final thoughts on the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle. Ready to fly. Okay guys, let's go ahead and do the FPV flight test. We're going to start out using the transmitter, and I'm going to wear the goggles that came in the RTF kit to start out with. I'm also going to use a Tyrannus transmitter later on in this review, and we're going to test out my Sky Zone goggles to just see the difference. This recording is done with my Sky Zone 030 sitting over there on the bench. So right away in stability mode, it's very soft. It feels like almost like the original Tinyhawk 2 or the Tinyhawk. Very predictable flying. So if you're brand new to FPV, start out in that mode. The switch is all the way away from you. When you switch all the way toward you, this is called acro mode. This enables full flips, no stabilization help. It also does not have altitude hold, so don't confuse that with stability mode. You'll still have to use your throttle to maintain your altitude, and it will go up and down depending on where the throttle's at. But it will do flips and rolls. That's about the roll rate. That is the beginner freestyle mode. The pits are plugged into this from the Emax team, and this is as about as wild as it gets with this quad. Almost messed up right there on that little touch and go. It's always fun to do touch and goes with a quadcopter. It's kind of hilarious. But the bottom of this frame is completely flat, so you can kind of do that on flat surfaces. And there goes my friend with the Cub. Very nice Cub. I believe that was a Great Plains Cub. I used to have a nice quarter scale one myself with a Sato 100 on it. Beautiful airplanes. And that is built up from a kit. Very nice. Now inside is where you can have a lot of fun with this one as well. Like I mentioned before, the props are kind of like skateboard wheels. They are very durable. So even though this quad doesn't have prop guards, I don't really worry about hitting solid objects with these props. They can take a hit. I mean, even hitting one of those wooden posts right there on that guardrail, I believe this would just bounce off and I'd probably have almost zero damage. But nice control around the house in stability mode. And in this situation, I'm actually using my own transmitter. So you can bind this up to any type of FrSky Tyrannus radios. And we're going to get realistically with this quad around 4 minutes flight time. So 1S 450 milliamp in parallel on the top of this quad will get you about 4 minutes. And you can really get in some small places with it. Now we're going to show you some freestyle. And this was from my original Tinyhawk 2 freestyle test. And this is out on my friend's organic farm. Just kind of some bonus footage for you guys to see what this quad can actually do. It's capable of a lot. So very smooth acro PID profile rate on here. It'll do big air maneuvers, it'll do tree dives, it'll do power loops. This quad will pretty much do what most 5-inch quads will do. That's the amazing thing about the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle series from Emax, I think, is that it feels like you're flying a 5-inch quad, even though it has a really small profile, super lightweight, under 250 grams, and it's pretty quiet for what it is, actually. So you don't really disturb your neighbors. If someone's a house or two away, they don't even hear this thing flying. It's very quiet. And the transmitter, thank God now we're able to crank it up to 200 milliwatt. I believe the original one might have had 25. So they listened to the FPV community and they upgraded that for you guys, which I find really, really cool. Now up high there is some breakup, and if you want to upgrade the transmitter antenna to some type of right-hand circular polarized micro, say like the nano, you might be able to do that. If you're good at soldering, you can solder on a new connector. But again, very predictable lines with this quad. Almost hit the top of the house right there. You can get away with a lot with these small profile quads. So I feel like it has a lot of room to grow. Again, for the ultimate beginner, just barely squeezing through there to the most advanced maneuvers and pilots out there. Most of my friends really like this quad. Taking some more chances, almost hit that fence there. That was hard to see. But with the Runcam Nano 2, it's so much better of a camera than what we had on here originally. Was the Emax branded camera, which no one really liked. Now we're going to do a little bit of stability flying. Again, for the beginners, we're also using a different radio this time. This is my Tyrannus radio. Just to show you how slow this quad can go. It really slows down. So if you're just learning, just getting your feet wet in FPV, I would buy the Freestyle over the original Tinyhawk or the Tinyhawk 2. The Freestyle is just awesome. It's everything that I want in a micro quad, because I've talked about this before on my channel. 2 to 3S with 1103 motors series and an F4 flight controller, it's the micro brushless sweet spot. But some very stable and relaxed flying. You don't have to do flips and rolls. If you just want to experience what it's like to fly FPV, this is how you do it right here. You can explore. And this transmitter is doing quite well all the way down this hill. I'm way up on the porch and it is transmitting through the trees there, doing pretty good. Let me get way out into this farm field. And I'm able to see fences, which is also a big plus. You can see really, really well with the Runcam Nano 2. There's a couple baby lambs there. Hi guys. They have no idea what's going on right now. But we do, we're just having fun. So I'm gonna come around this side of the tree and we're gonna head out of here. Let's go ahead and boost up to the top of this tree. Let's do a sort of an orbit, slow orbit up and around. And you can turn down your camera angle toward like a 10% tilt. And you can really have a different experience with this quad. And now I'm back into acro for that tree dive. Very satisfying. Again, 0 to hero with this quad. It's beginner to pro. And so much fun. And finally they have the RTF kit. I'm so glad they did this. Let's go ahead and back into the studio and let's give some final thoughts about the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle, guys. Here we go. All right guys, welcome back in from the flight test. So this RTF kit pretty much has everything you're probably looking for. If you would ask me personally which one would I get, the Tinyhawk 2 or the Freestyle, or the Tinyhawk 2 Freestyle RTF kit. If you are just starting in FPV, you want to keep this one away from your face. Number one, if you see some type of fly heading toward your face, you always want to swat it away from your face. It does not have prop guards, so keep that in mind. If you are buying it for, say, a kid or a gift, the Tinyhawk or the Tinyhawk 2 might be the version that you get a kid. If you are a little bit older, more experienced FPV or RC flyer, this would be really the way to go, because it will train you in stability. Then you can use it as an acro trainer And once you get really good at flying freestyle, this it's a lot of fun. It's like, I think this is probably the closest thing to street style skateboarding that you can get in an FPV. Is really fun, lightweight, and it allows you to sort of even make up new FPV tricks and maneuvers with this quad because it is so versatile and small of a profile. And the power to weight ratio is great. So the 1103 series motors with 7,000 kV on here and up to 2S, we've got around 900 milliamp on here, getting us up to about 4-minute flight time. It's pretty much has everything that you could ask for. Also, the Insta 360 Go option is nice as well. So there might actually be a 3D printed 360 Go printed part that you can get on thingiverse.com. If you want to go on Thingiverse and check that out, there should be one that you could print out of TPU and add that on there. And maybe it would be nice to see one that had an adjustable tilt, but this one comes stock at about around 20 degrees tilt. And if you are a new guy just getting into FPV, you can always bring your camera tilt down and that will have it fly slower for you. So you'll get less angle and you'll fly a little bit slower, and you'll be able to make nicer and smaller gaps around the house. So if you're flying indoors, bring the camera angle down to about 10% or less. If you're outdoors doing freestyle, bring it up to about 20%, and you can play around with putting more tilt into it as you get better as a pilot. So we have a lot of stuff going for this kit, and I'm glad to see that Emax brought it out to the community for you guys. But that's pretty much the end of my review, guys, and keep those subscriber clicks coming. I really appreciate you subscribing on the channel, and click the notification bell for the new videos coming out. As always, guys, I'm Justin Davis. Take care, be safe out there. It's a crazy world we live in. Check out the links down below. I appreciate it. I'll see you on the next one.